still there is a challenge to the university spaces, and I would welcome it. The universities as being ivory towers that have to be dismantled, and that is what is happening. Not just now in last 1 or 2 years, but in last 20 years. What Gopal Guru would say as mandalization of the classrooms in central universities. Because mandalization has happened in state universities much earlier. Different kinds of background people came to the university and they started questioning the nature of knowledge that was produced in the university. So there were clashes, skirmishes between the established structures and the new people who have come in. So that's where the Progressive Students Forum began in the University of Hyderabad with Mandal agitation, and then as an offshoot of that, differences with Progressive Students Forum, Ambedkar Students Association, which is in the news now, came up in early 90s, and then Dalit Student Union came up in early 90s. Women's Students Forum came into existence, and ABVP was not there, SFI was not there. ABP was trying to articulate itself in the name of a group called Discovery, anonymous posters here and there, because they were afraid to articulate their own position. Because that was they were at the margin during that time. In the last 20 years, what has happened since 1995 to 2014, 15, 16, ABEP is able to articulate now. It is able to go and stop the program organized by the left organizations in JA. It is able to stop Rohit Venu. So in that sense, the political activism has increased. Even others who did not have voice then have got the voice now. So the political activism is very vibrant, very active. So the political activism has not disappeared, dissent has not disappeared. A new kind of dissent has come in. ABUP, whatever the ABUP is saying, it is also a dissent, we need to respect it. But the question is how it is being articulated. The question is, they are violent, they are trying to instigate, they are trying to manufacture lies and circulate in the WhatsApp and Facebook, Twitter, which is an alternative to the source of knowledge, the university. Because many people say, I saw in WhatsApp, I saw in Facebook, I know what you are saying is not right, what I believe is right. Because there is an alternative source of knowledge to the people. So we are saying that there is a violence and they are fabricating certain things. That's why we need to question them seriously. But more than that, even when Ambedkar Student Association formed, if you look at the history of Ambedkar Student Association, the justification is not due to Ambedkar Student Association. Because many times, Ambedkar Student Association raised its dissent through violent activities, attacking a teacher, attacking a classroom. Even earlier, in some of the student organizations in EFLU, they also indulged in what the mainstream, the elite class would call as violent, disrupting the class, attacking the teacher in the classroom. So violence is also not new and something that is unique to ABU. We need to understand this concept of violence itself. When we become violent, I'm trying to generalize here, there could be two ways, two contexts in which we become violent. One is I don't know how to articulate my dissent. So violence is the only way to articulate. My words pain me. So I become violent. And the second one is when I don't know how to counter the argument which is against my argument. I don't know. I know that I am losing. In desperation, I might resort to violence. So we have to decide what kind of violence is being unleashed now. What lies behind this violent activity that we are witnessing now. So violence is not something new. That because we don't know how to articulate the dissent, we might make that move. That should also be considered as violence. We may not agree with extreme left. Extreme left also indulges in violence. Many times people like us will say that we agree with their aims and objectives, but we don't agree with the way they are trying to achieve them because they are violent. Because they may not be able to articulate their position. even if they are able to articulate, we might have turned our ears deaf. So we have cut off the receiver. Then we can't hear it. So they will force us to listen to them. So violence is one way of forcing us to listen to it. So in that sense, ABUP might be indulging in any of these things. But the danger is, ABUP is not alone. If you look at the current incident that has happened in around JNU, the voice of ABUP, the voice of the party called BJP, the voice of the government, the nation state, and the voice of the law and order machinery, the police, seems to be one and the same. That is alarming. Even when BJP comes forward, it needs to make a distinction between what ABUP is saying, what BJP is saying, and what the government is saying, and what the law and order machinery is supposed to act or say. But the collapsing of these various institutions, a student wing, a political party, a nation state, and the machinery of the nation state, that is alarming. I will come back to it little later. Again, looking at this, the question of political dissent. We are always political. There is nothing like apolitical. Politics means how we perceive the polity in which we live. Whether we like it, whether we dislike it, whether we would like to change it. Even the perception itself is political. If I say everything is fine in my polity, I don't have to do any politics. Even the perception itself is political. And whether you want to change it or not, in what way you would like to change it, political. So in that sense, politics is part of the way we understand our polity itself. The relationship between the nation state and the citizen, relationship between various kinds of citizens, because all citizens are not equal in a state like ours. Because we have not yet become a nation, we have a nation state, we have nationalisms, but we don't have a nation in the true sense. So in that sense, how our relationship should be, thinking about it, understanding that itself is political. So in that sense, political activism is part of the university if it wants to produce knowledge and disseminate knowledge. Because we know that there is a relationship between the knowledge that we produce and disseminate and the kind of power structure that we see around us. So there is a kind of dialectical relationship between the practice in which we are engaged in the university, whether in producing the knowledge or in disseminating the knowledge, and what is happening around us. So in that sense, the space of the university itself is political. Whether it is national or not, if you look at the history of the university, universities were established when there were no nation states or nations to begin with. So universities were established for various purposes, as part of religious activities, as part of something else. And then in the last 200 years or so, nationalism was tagged onto the university and nation state became the fund provided to the universities. That is all. Otherwise, nationalism has nothing to do with the university to begin with. So I will leave out nationalism for the time being. So political activism is not something new. Even if I keep quiet, thinking that everything is alright with the institutions around me, that itself is political. And if I say it should change, even if I say Kanaya was not saying certain things properly, that is also political. So in that sense, everybody indulges in political activity. So there is nothing like a political activity. So political activism is part of the university, and dissent is also part of the university. And we need to look at ABUP articulation as also as a dissent. Whether what we need to do is we need to do a kind of what kind of dissent it is. Why we think it is undesirable at this point of time in our history is something that we need to look at. And when it comes to activism, I will also slightly go back to what Umar said. We need to take one or two steps back at certain point of time and look at things more calmly. Otherwise, you are in the heat of the moment and you say certain things, you do certain things. That's where the question of knowledge production comes. One is you are trying to grapple with what is happening around you with the existing knowledge at hand. Sometimes things are changing in such a way that you don't have the proper paraphernalia, the linguistic paraphernalia, the conceptual paraphernalia to deal with what is happening around you. I'm not saying you should stop your activism. You can involve in activism with whatever is available, the theoretical conceptual framework is available to you, but at the same time it is also useful to take a relook at what you are doing. I think the time has come to that. We need to relook at what we are doing in the form of activism. I generally advise my students who are doing, especially the research, I have no problem with your activism. You have your activism, but don't bring that into your research. It is fine to the level of asking a question, what question you would like to ask in your research and what answer you would like to find out. So you are to the level of choosing your research question, your political affiliations or political activism is fine. Once you choose your political activism, you stop at it. And then you need to more focus on your epistemological framework, your theoretical framework, your methods of data collection, your methods of data analysis. Because all these things are going to impact the result, the answer that you are going to find for your research question. So sometimes it's necessary to take a step back and then look at what is happening. So what I am trying to do now is also of that kind. But it is offhand. If I get another 1 or 2 years to relook at what is happening now and then think about it and also reflect on the way I am thinking about it, my analysis of what is happening right now could be different. So we need to make the difference. And right now, when I am trying to reflect on what is happening around me in JNU, in University of Hyderabad, even in EFLU, similar manner, an RSS person might also be reflecting on these things. An AVP person might be reflecting on it. A left leaning person might be reflecting on it. A Dalit Ambedkarite could be reflecting on it. A Udit Raj kind of person or a Paswar who is basically Dalit but aligned with BJP might also be thinking on it. So that is necessary. We need to think about these issues. And generally what we do is, in student activism, we are so passionate, we can't distinguish between a person and an idea. People are prone to change their ideas. You have seen in the JNU case, 3 ABUP office bearers have come out of ABUP after looking at what has happened. You should allow that space for change. What is happening right now is hardening of stand on both sides. Once you have taken this stand, you will always be like this. You should allow them to change. Otherwise, what is the use of politics? If you are clearly hardening your stand and if the boundaries are drawn, violence is the only argument. Only when you allow people to think, critically reflect on it and then change their position, then the transformative politics is possible. Otherwise, transformative politics is not possible. We should resort to deprive democratic era of waging a war and whoever wins, their ideology will win. That is not possible. So, many times even I have seen attacking a person. Just because I am in the administration, I take a particular position, it doesn't mean that I own up the position. As a researcher, I might have a different position than the position that I own up as a administrator. Because as part of an institution, I am supposed to take up a particular stand. It doesn't mean that I have surrendered my critical faculties. I will be critically reflecting on it. So start attacking the individual, start attacking the idea so that that individual gets a place to rethink about their position and then change their position. You always say, I respect you as an individual, but I don't approve of what you are saying. So you attack the idea but not the person. But unfortunately today, somewhere they are moving towards the individual-centric politics. That is highly problematic. So we need to look at idea-based politics where individuals will have a place to transform themselves. And then again, coming back to WhatsApp and Facebook and other alternative sources of knowledge, it is a great challenge that is posing to us. I am not only saying it negatively, it is also positive. In UBI case, we have seen how people are mobilized. Because when night climb was organized in Hyderabad, a group of students, they started with a group of students who called for a night climb. I thought, when I got an email, let's go. And I thought I will find only 25-30 people. And when I went there, I met nearly 7-8 people who were part of that rare protest in 95 University. So 95 we were protesting there, again we were here after 2 decades. Apart from that, there are 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people on that day. I thought only 45-50 people will be there, will be sitting here to be discussing. That mobilization was possible because of what you call as social media. But the social media is also challenging our earlier conventional understanding of what a nation state is, what is a democratic space, how to the reasoning. Language is very important for the nation state, the modern apparatus of the nation state. A civil society, a debate in civil society will transform the nation state. So there should be a dialectical relationship between the civil society and the nation state. But unfortunately in India, Indian nation state, there is no language in which we communicate. Indian nation state is solely based on English. Now they are trying to bring in Hindi, and they have been able to successful. They might have been successful in to some extent in that. That's why we are seeing this transformation is happening in Hindi. That's why we are seeing this kind of mobilization in which lawyers can only speak in Hindi, not in a fluent English, that the JNU students can speak. So there is a transformation that is happening. But in spite of that, many people can't speak who are from Kerala, who are from North East, if they don't know English, if they don't know Hindi. So there is no language, there was no civil society which was appropriate to the character of the Indian nation state that we have in the last 100 years, in the last 50 years or so. So we need to think about this civil society. What is the language? And they are able to mobilize. The right wing is able to mobilize because they have discounted the language. They have gone to Hindi, predominantly number one. Number two, images. With WhatsApp and Facebook, it is not text, it is more than text, it is the video, it is the photograph, whether it is Photoshop or MAF, there is a different issue. So they are able to master this language, which can bypass the earlier order that was there in uniting the, or in having a proper discussion in the civil society. So, as university professors, we need to think about what is this new language and what is this new grammar, what are the implications of this for our nation state and for our civil society. And what are the contestation that is happening in this field. It is not an uncontested field. We are able to drum up support for Kannaiya again because of social media. Rohit Vemula could reach each and every language in India because most of his, in most of the languages we could find translation of his last letter. In many languages we could find poems immediately within 3-4 days. So this technology is not an uncontested arena, it is also contested arena. So we need to look at it more carefully. The dissent is very much there, dissent has not disappeared. And we might say that because there is an authoritarian nation state, or a person who is heading the nation state is authoritarian, there is no dissent. No, in fact they will unite most of the people, and the dissent voice will also become more strong. That is my experience. Whenever we have authoritarian people at the elbow of affairs, they will also unite the opposition, the opposing voices, and I see that is being happening. And in the last two decades, in Andhra especially, if you see the kind of debate that was happening in the political society and also in the intellectual level was predominantly left versus Dalit. But both in Rohit Vemula and Kannaiah case, there seems to be a kind of alliance that is getting built up between the two. So there is also a positive factor to it. So I will stop here, maybe I've taken more time than what was allotted to them. So I only request you to stop attacking the individuals, focus more on the ideas and the process rather than the individuals. And I also request you to also critically reflect on what you are doing, the method in which you are doing, and the implications of that. If somebody says a contrary view, take it more seriously. Don't be like more this person. So take the criticism more seriously than what they do. Sometimes it is also appropriate and necessary to appropriate their language of criticism. That is the only way to survive. Appropriating their language is necessary for survival in completely fascist circumstances. Thank you very much.